Today we're analysing my race from a sunny Brands Hatch starting P13. I'm in a Hillman Imp, which is an agile but underpowered car for this pre-66 classic touring car grid. This makes it interesting as my moves always have to be quite aggressive, which you'll see later on. I have the closest battle ever with another Imp racer, and we both thought we touched multiple times, but luckily there must have been a few millimeters between us. If you saw my last video, you'll see that in the wet during this race weekend I took overall victory, but in dry conditions the Imp is not a stronger car and I was not happy with the setup. But I'll explain all later, so let's start at the beginning. So I'm just trying to get a little bit of heat into the tyres during the outlap, but not too much because they are prone to overheating, so I don't want to toast the tyre before we've even got started. Now we're lined up on the grid and ready to go. I get a great launch and I'm straight onto the back of the red Cortina in front, and then I'm forced to lift. I'm soon boxed in on the inside and just a spectator to the cars filing past me on the outside into turn 1, the famous Paddock Hill bend. Now there's not a lot I could have done here, and the outside generally is a pretty good place to start around Brands Hatch. I stick rigidly to the inside all throughout turn 1 because this is the inner carter in me that says if you're on the outside it's not going to end well. But the racing is a little bit more respectful here, so maybe I could have tried a bit wider. Even so, I wanted the inside line for turn 2 Druids. There wasn't enough space for me to make an overtake up the inside, and I didn't think there was space for anyone to put a move on me. That was until the banana coloured Imp came flying up the inside. I saw him in my mirror and I thought, that's someone that's not going to stop, so I got out the way and let him go. Whether the move was intentional or not by him, I'm not quite sure, but it was a very, very good move. Firm, but fair. And then, again, if you saw my last video, I have an issue with the gears where I can't select second, so I change down late mid-corner, and I'm in 4th. Now this whole sequence of events has put me pretty far down the order. Now at this point I'm thinking it's really important not to get hung up on my mistakes. I need to put it to one side, forget about it, settle down into the race and focus on going forward. So now I'm through Graham Hill Bend. I've got a nice clean exit but not quite enough power to put a move on anyone. I'm a little wider through Surtees than I'd like to be, but that's just cold tyres and I underestimated how much grip I was lacking. Then I'm defending and maybe looking to overtake into clearways, but I'm not really close enough and I compromise my exit slightly onto the straight. I stick rigidly to the inside, and as you'll see, a 1300cc Mini is flying up the outside, squeezes me. I'm a little braver on the brakes and I manage to stick to the inside, get the apex, and then I've created enough space for me to use all the track on the exit and even have a run at that yellow Imp in front. He's sticking very tightly to the inside, so I think, alright then, I'll give it a go around the outside. As I'm on the outside and I know he's going to be blocking the inside, I know I can brake about a car length later because I don't need to make the apex because it's going to be blocked. I brake super late, up the hill, use that incline to give me extra grip. By the apex I'm alongside and slightly in front, and then by the exit I've got the move done. And even if I hadn't, I'd have carried more speed around the outside, and I've got the inside line for Graham Hill Bend. So as long as I'm able to be there or thereabouts around the outside of Druid, I've pretty much got the move done. And then feeling cocky from the last move and knowing that the Mini has more power, so I've got to capitalise wherever I can, I go straight in on the light blue Mini into Graham Hill. This wasn't majorly a planned move, but he just seemed to brake really early and I was defending from the yellow Imp, so I thought, looks like we're going in then. As I could have probably guessed, as it was a poorly planned last minute move, he squared me off on the exit, used the extra power and was up the inside for Surtees. On the exit I keep turning, trying to block him from getting the undercut, but he's already there, he's got the better exit and he's alongside. I thought about hanging it all the way around the outside, but it seemed unwise and it seemed like he didn't have the grip to keep turning, so I backed out of it as I knew he'd be pushing me on the grass. This was a great bit of racing, really close. Not the closest bit of racing, but my first true taste of being properly in a pack, competitive, in a car. I then looked to the inside for clearways, but I couldn't quite get it turned and stopped, and he closes the door very quickly. I had to defend into turn 1, but it didn't really hinder my time that much. Now my focus is being really smooth and catching back up to him. Coming up is one of my favourite moves this race because I planned it an entire lap in advance. Now, so you know what I'm thinking, where I'm closest to the Mini is going into clearways, the last corner, so that realistically is where I have the best chance of making a move. Everywhere else he uses his power and is too far ahead. So this lap I'm too far back, but I'm thinking, how can I plan for a move here on the next lap? Now, when you observe the marshal's post on the right closely, you see that they are holding a yellow flag. It's not quite unfurled yet because they're waiting, but it means that next lap there's probably going to be a yellow flag in this sector. On the left again there is a waved yellow and a car stopped. Now I know that that car isn't going anywhere within the next lap, so this tells me if I put an aggressive move on into clearways and get a terrible exit, there's nothing he can do about it because we're straight into a yellow flag zone. So to make this strategy work, I need to be really smooth this lap and get around the first complication, which is a slowing car into paddock. Luckily he doesn't hinder me and I'm able to get back to the apex and get a really good exit. And then I think, hang on, I've already gone around the outside of one car at Druids, let's try it again. He moves to the inside, I try and brake as late as possible, but not quite late enough. We're alongside for the first part, we give each other room, and then I just don't really have the lateral grip to go all the way. He slots back in front and then we're filing through Graham Hill again. From the lap before, I know where I want to make the move. Here we are at Surtees, which is the setup for the move, and I'm fully committed. I'm making sure to use my own line. I'm going right up the curb, really trying to hold it tighter to the left in order to swing nice and tight at the right up the inside. And then he opens up the corner, I slot right down the inside, block him completely. It was very unexpected, I think. And then, oh dear, I don't get a great exit. But who cares, because just as planned, there is a yellow flag being waved in the next sector, so he cannot overtake me back. This also means I'm free to open up Paddock Hill and not compromise the rest of my lap defending. So immediately now my focus shifts to the Imp in front, who is the car that I'll be battling with for lap upon lap upon lap. Throughout the course of our battle you'll see that the Imps tend to have a little bit of a blind spot around the rear corner, which I can also say is true. So he carries a bit too much speed in, runs wide on the exit, and then I come around the outside for Graham Hill. This isn't where I'd make a move on the outside. My plan would simply be to go on the outside, compromise his exit, and then try and undercut later on. But he doesn't see me, and we have this little wobbly moment. And that is just one of the times that we are millimetres from each other. I was sure we'd touch then. Now I mentioned I wasn't happy with the setup earlier, and this is most obvious around Graham Hill. It's a corner where you need to throw yourself in, really use the front, and then fire out. I feel I was way too low on tyre pressures. I made a drastic change from quali as I was on a new set of shocks and still learning them, but it meant I had no confidence. It bounced on the front and he was really strong on the entry and the exit from Graham Hill. Again, I'm strong through Surtees, and then I make the same mistake into clearways of not committing to a move, putting on a half move and then compromising my exit. Later you'll see what happens when I don't put a move on at clearways. I stick to my own racing line and then I get a really strong exit. So the next lap is all about sizing him up. Where's he strong? Where's he weak? We know Graham Hill, I'm weak, he's strong, and we know Surtees, the opposite is true. And also, Paddock, I'm quite strong, as you see. So here we are again into Druids. He moves to the middle of the track to defend, but I go right up against the white line on the inside. I brake what I thought was super late, but he brakes even later, and then is in front of me and sort of tucks in just as we're getting to the apex. Thanks to his late braking, he runs wide, I'm nice and tight against the apex and I get a good run. But all the time in a bit of a reverse roll to what I did with the yellow imp. He's around the outside and he's now got the inside for the next left-hander. Again, like I say, my aim was never to make a move around the outside of the left, but simply to compromise him to create an opportunity. But unfortunately, like I mentioned, I wasn't comfortable into the corner and I get a massive slide at the apex and he pulls away anyway. Now I wasn't quite close enough into paddock, but I got a good exit, and once again the corner for action is Druids. He moves to the inside, but this time I don't, I move to the outside. You can see the cars are very evenly matched because we carry near identical speed the whole way round, and then he just slots in front, really no different to the way we were before the corner. And then again, Graham Hill, he's really strong on entry but gets a bit of a slide on the exit, and I'm closer as we go through 30s. Again, I look for the move, it wasn't quite on, I thought it was going to be there. Similar to the Mini earlier, he goes wide, I go tighter looking for the move, but it's not quite on. So I've compromised my exit, but luckily he got a slide and so did he. This means we're really close going into paddock, a corner where I know I'm strong on the brakes and all the way round. Earlier I mentioned how I didn't really plan a move, but I just went in because the opportunity opened there and then. But since then, you've seen me plan a move a whole lap in advance, and now you're seeing it a whole straight in advance. As you see by my gestures, I know I'm strong into Paddock Hill, I know I'm close enough, and whatever happens, I've decided I'm going in. Which turned out not to be a wise move. This back marker is moving way slower than I thought he was. We'd already caught him up, and like I said, I was already committed to the move, so I was going in no matter what. And then when I got to this point, I realised I'm going to get boxed in here, so I slam on the brakes. I'm checking the mirror to see if I can move outside once the other imp's driven past, but that was a bit of a scary moment. I thought I might just be going straight in the back of him there. And then thanks to being compromised there, I've got the other Mini on my tail and I'm having to defend into Druids. As you can see in front, the white imp's pushing hard as he's trying to capitalise on this new gap. I'm a little better through Graham Hill there, I'm learning from what he's doing. Which, like I said in my last video, it's all about reading the other people around you and learning from what they're doing. Now I'm really close to the imp going through 30s and also through clearways. He gets a slide on entry as he did in previous laps, but I managed to hook it up, the car is on rails, really smooth, great exit, and I'm in the tow. He moves to the inside, and again I think I'm going to go to the outside. Not because I'm going to overtake there, because I'm not mental, but because I want him to know you can't use this piece of track, I'm hindering your exit. So I'm alongside for the entry, I'm nice and wide, he's tight, which means he washes wide, and I get the cut back on the exit. Now I saw the in-car footage from him, and he had no idea where I was completely in his blind spot, so he did the very sensible thing of just holding his line and going straight, while I drove up the inside. I was much later on the brakes, and to my surprise, I actually made the apex nicely. Good exit down the hill and didn't have to defend into the left. Now from this point forward in the race, I was pretty much just driving my own lines, trying to be smooth and consistent, and I was suffering quite badly from overheating throughout most of this race, so that was something I was trying to monitor and not be too hard on the engine. I'll let you enjoy all of the few remaining minutes of the race so you can listen to the engine, listen to how I'm driving, and get a feel for the track. After the race there was massive thumbs up from both of us. It was a very enjoyable and good firm race. Pulling into the pits afterwards, thanks to the miles too hot engine, it just died straight away, so some poor marshals had to push me back up the hill into the paddock. Now the issue was partially sorted for race 2, where I took the win in the wet, so go and watch that video here, and if you enjoyed this one, please like and subscribe, it helps me out a lot, and leave a comment, let me know what you enjoyed.